So this is what we want to see. We've got a tuber, nice size, nice shape. This one is eyeing up already very nicely. So we know in the spring, should we store this properly, it will become a nice, what is this? A nice not Firebird. So this is not Firebird. I don't know what it is, but it's not Firebird. Hey guys, Robert here. It is December 6th, and we're still dividing tubers. And I think, 5 or 6 weeks ago, I said, when we were digging them still, I said I'd make a little video about dividing tubers, storing tubers. I think the video got about 25 people. 25 people watched it. So for those 25 people, here's a follow-up. So this is part 2. This is how to divide Dahlia tubers like a roofer. Okay, step 1. You need a work light. How's that for bright? Work lights are important. So first off, your tools. We've got our Dahlia clumps, but first off, here are the tools that I use. So number 1, got a bleach solution for cleaning our tools. I use a multi-tool. This is just an M18 multi-tool with a plunge cut on there. I use a straight blade, and I use a pair of snips. These ones work, cutting the ends off. So, and of course, blower, air compressor, very good for cleaning off the tubers. So here's tuber number 1. I picked a very easy one, just so you can see. We got our labels in there. Always have a little bin, so each tuber, as you divide them, they go straight into the bin. Keep it as easy as possible. So the parts of the clump of tubers. This is our tuber clump. This was our stem, all the flowers up there. These are our tubers, right? That's our mother tuber. That is worthless. The mother is no good, but to be thrown away. So here's our tubers. This one has a great example. So here we have, our crown. Our crown is at the bottom of the stem. This whole section that the tubers latch onto, that's the crown. The goal is, as you cut, as you divide, you need to have a good amount of crown come off with each tuber, right? So I cut that. Let's say I pull the knife. You can see those little eyes, right? Oh, those are eyes. So that will be next year's growth, right? So how I would work, maybe I shouldn't do that while holding the phone. I'll probably break something. So I would just, with a straight blade, this is an easy cut, just cut that right off, pull it off, put it into here. So this is a very simple clump to divide. This would be, a few minutes, done. But, we don't want to just have simple. So this, in principle, is the same thing. It's just a bit of a mess. It's very tight together. Nothing's easy to access. You can't see the crown. So that'll be a completely different process dividing it. But in principle, it's no different from this. It's just the tubers are, a lot tighter together, not as much space to work. It'll be a bit more work to get that divided. So generally, I sterilize the tools between each plant just to make sure there's no disease transfer. I like to just start from top to bottom, our easiest clumps, right? So try to There's number 1. Just popped it right off with the knife. You can see the eyes on there in the bin. Number 2. pops right off. Very simple. My wife doesn't like working with the knife. She prefers the multi-tool. What she would do clean off right there. You know, it's not too important, but people, you know, you can... That's a dull pair of snips. You can cut the tail off in the bin. Wider ones like this, you know, I could do it with a knife, but the multi-tool works as well. Just done. Perfect tuber. You just make sure every piece has a nice chunk of crown on there. Sometimes you can't see the eyes. The eyes can be harder to see, but doesn't mean they aren't there. Just a nice, it's actually, when you're working with a knife, it's very important to make sure your blade is sharp. Sharp blades are actually a lot safer than dull blades, because the knife will just slide right through your potato, no problem. If you've got a dull blade and you're having to push, it doesn't go through, that's when you cut yourself open. Happens, I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, but this, very simple, slides through very nicely. So that neck is broken. Broke that neck. No, I think that's the mother tuber. So that's, no. So one tuber has a broken neck, so that is garbage. Broken neck. This one, oh man, this is going to be like, what were you thinking filming this video, you maniac? So I like to just, you can see the eye in there, you can just pry it. That's why I like working with the knife so much. You can just get behind, you have your tuber, your neck, the crown, just pop it right off. And little tubers like this, little scraggly necks like that, that's just garbage. That won't be any good. So we'll leave that. But this last tuber, that's a bit thicker, just done. So now this will go on our table. Typically, we give them a day or two to kind of scab over, but we've got so many tubers we're dealing with, so just put that with the other ones. Tuberino. Cherubino. Who names these things? All right, so we got our bin. This, still quite dirty. Looks like we've got a carrot growing in there. Is that a carrot? I think that might be a carrot. We'll see. I'm pretty sure that's a carrot. Maybe some lunch in there. But obviously this is a lot, a different form of a tuber. It's a lot tighter, a lot dirtier, a lot of dirt and, you know, roots in between there. Not as easy to see as our last one, but in principle, it's the same thing. Step one in this, I will pull the blower out. Let's see here. Try to get it cleaner. All right, got it clean, blown clear. So first thing, gonna clean it up a little bit. That is a carrot. We've got a little Easter egg in there. Two carrots. Wow. Clean up little bits of stem. When it comes down to it, we just need to start at the top. So you can see right here, got this little tuber and that little tuber are kind of jointly connected. So I will just go in with my knife You know, if you need to go from another angle, just be very careful with the neck. See? Just pops right up. So you can make a cut down the center to make sure that you've got an eye. So there's lots of eyes there. So you can make your cut, or you can just, if you want to do that later, just put it in the box for later. That's fine. But I just work right top to bottom, so you can see that. There we go. Of course, my tools have been disinfected from the last tuber. A tuber like this, I would not keep. That's just it's a little too scrawny. Probably nothing there. You know, that one's all right, sure. Just go in with the knife and really just plunge in and lift it up. It's why you really need the multiple tools. I find the knife is really good for precision cuts. This is quite good if you need to plunge in and take out larger sections, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Get a bit more of this cleaned. So that is a broken neck. So that's garbage. Have a little garbage bin at the bottom here. And you just look, where is there accessible tubers? So I can get that one. But I'll show you, this is where the multi-tool comes in handy. So you can see. So you can see there's not really good access. So what I would propose with a tuber like this, really speeds up the process, is to just plunge straight down the crown, divide the crown in two, splitting the clump in half. You might lose some tubers, but yeah, didn't lose any tubers. There you go. So now we have two halves of the same clump. It's now a lot easier to work on. When you have something like this, you just cut so they both have a piece of crowns. One is a lot bigger than the other, but they're both perfectly good tubers. Now like this, you can see that cross section. Just plunge right in. You know, if you want to clean them, clean them. That's why it's handy to have the That is a carrot. A carrot growing within the clump of tubers. How about that? Hey, bunny. Do you want the carrot? Yeah. I think you'd like that carrot. You can see just how tightly packed, and you got soil, you know, everything all mixed in. It's just not nearly as tidy as our last tuber, but you got to work with it. And sometimes they just require, you know, more tools. You know, the multi-tool plunging straight through, you know, the crown there certainly helps it. We lost a couple tubers, but that's okay. Like that one fell victim to my plunge cut. That's okay. But, you know, that's right there. Still plenty of good and now accessible tubers. Clean that. Got a nice eye on there. There we go. You just work your way around. It's quite therapeutic, actually. There's a big one. Get that. Oh, look at that. So that's some vermiculite in there. There you go. Bonus. You know, you can cut off the end. There's a lot of tubers that grow on other tubers, and those are, unfortunately, because they do not have a piece of crown, they are worthless. It's critical that every tuber has a piece of crown like that, because that is where the eyes are located. And I don't know if the lighting is good enough, but that is an eye right there. So that is a perfect little tuber. I wish every tuber was so, this size. It's kind of a headache, some that are, some tubers we have are like 18 inches long. It's just a little bit. Shipping them will be more complicated. Storing them, everything's more complicated. I gotta blow. Yeah, just circle it around. See, where can I, cut and pry. Everyone will have their own method. I've cut thousands upon thousands of shingles in valleys with just a knife like this, so I feel pretty confident. And if I work through a clump of tubers, when you work through it, I'm able to salvage basically 95% of the tubers. The odd one will have the broken neck, but you just go through them. Yeah, they get all, see how they kind of get all mixed up in there. They get wound up, tangled up, and it can be overwhelming to some. I know when I started, it's like trying to make sense of some of these clumps. It's like, what the heck? But you really just need to look at it one tuber at a time and just go for the low-hanging fruit. And as you break them apart, it really opens up, and then it becomes easier with every successive tuber. And it doesn't become so daunting. There is our second carrot. Would you look at that? Broken necks are inevitable. It's going to happen. There's no salvaging it once the neck is broken. It's garbage. We're getting to the end. As you can see, we've still got an earthworm. He's been camping out in here. Look at that. And he's still alive. Poor guy. Well, what do I do with that? Would the bunny eat him? No, I don't think the bunny. Should save him for ice fishing. Clear that. Yeah, screwed that one up, but oh, that one's good. This is going to be probably the worst video I've ever made. Look at that. A couple weeks ago, my wife said she was dreaming about tubers, dividing tubers. Last night, I actually had a dream about dividing tubers as well. And here I am. I'm making a video about tuber dividing. It's gotta be, that's the mother tuber. That's garbage. It's gotta be my dullest video yet. But if you made it this far, I commend you. I don't think that I'd watch this far. So this is our fourth season that we've been, growing and digging on scale. We've grown every year. We've expanded, and now it's just, we're at 1,500 clumps, which I think is enough for me. I think without help, without actually hiring people and getting help, I don't think I want any more tubers. And so now we've got all these varieties, all these tubers, and we've got to get them through winter. And like anything else, you're going to have a ton of opinions on the best way. And we're basing what we're doing on what we found worked best in previous years where we experimented. So I've tried wax dipping, which actually worked quite well. The issue is just how labor intensive it is. I just don't have the time to dip in wax. It's just not feasible. The other, we've used wood shavings. We used vermiculite. I like vermiculite, but it's just too dang expensive. And wood shavings, we found really just dried out the tubers. Just, coming into spring, they were viable tubers, but they just weren't firm. We found for us storing in peat moss. So big bag of peat moss like this, picked it up $15. So it's pretty cheap. And basically every variety, that's Chilson, every variety has its own box, right? So there's no contamination. The boxes we can pick up 40 cents. We can actually ship them out in the same boxes, and we know there's no guesswork. It's peat moss. The downside of peat moss is it will make the clumps of tubers quite dirty. But we found in the few years that we've been doing it, storing them in peat moss, just cardboard and peat moss, we found that they were really firm coming out of spring. They did really well, and so that's how we kind of resolved on going with peat moss. Cost, it's cheap and it's readily available. And anyway, if you made it this far, I commend you. I wouldn't have made it this far. Hope you guys have a good day. I'll try to get a bunch done today and maybe put this video together before I go to bed. Take care.